So this is Matt Benke, and he is a professor of computer science and cybersecurity there at Columbia Basin College. He is a very interesting individual. He served in the military. I'm going to let you give a little bit of history of yourself, Matt. And he is also one of our state senators. So he's been involved, especially from the technical side, to give the state Senate more of a technical perspective on bills that are passed and things like that. So Matt, go ahead and take over.
Thanks, Bernie, and I appreciate the honor of presenting in front of you guys today. Bernie said most of the highlights, I guess I could tell you. Raised in the Tri-Cities, live in the Tri-City currently, left for a couple of years to go to serve in this United States Army right before Desert Storm was rolling off in 1989 to 90. I flew helicopters for this great nation with the 82nd 101st, commanded at several different levels of troops between 120 to about 4,000 individuals. In that perspective, we developed a lot of things from research and development in the military, from the heads-up display in the cockpit setting, the glass touch screens that you see today, and even the satellite-based telemetry that you've come from. It's the geolocations or even the GPS when they were allowed to from the military operations in the 90s to make it civilianized into the integration of the algorithms that work within the software that we do today. My perspective at the end of my career, the last 4 years, was standing up a thing called U.S. Army Cyber Command. And today I'm going to give you kind of an update on how that went, what that really means, and then hopefully have some questions at the end on those that you'll be interested in. And happy to share some books about this. I know in the helping advise our CVC team over the last couple of years. I'm on my 9th year at Columbia Basin College teaching. I've been retired from the military 11 now. I had to think about that. So it's been quite a while kind of transitioning to civilian service, but a lot of this still means a lot to serving in the military. A lot of the individuals that served with me as a commander were what we call non-green suiters or civilian agency representatives. Basically having a 9-to-5 job, had your weekends off, you did what you wanted to do. You didn't have to go to basic training. You didn't have to do all the other stuff that we did. So you had that opportunity to do all you can to support your government while also still having kind of a 9-to-5 job. With that, our mission of the U.S. Army Cyber Command is really subservient and subordinate to the U.S. Cyber Command. When that was stood up a couple of years ago, we had really the organization and the future mission statements that came out that said, what are we really trying to do? And initially it was just defending our networks. When you came into an opportunity of defending a network, that means resiliency, that means understanding what the updates need to happen. And you've probably been to a lot of these classes about updating your antivirus, malwares, but also monitoring your networks to see the intrusions. Where's your, security defense measures that we talk about, that defense in depth scheme. And then now even transitioning into the zero tolerance, to where we have a zero trusted architectures in the frameworks that we work with our civilian positions in there as well. A lot of these cyber positions are civilian because we do a lot with the civilian agencies that are actually honing a lot of the skills that happen that help the military mission and the internships that go with that as well. So at the end, we'll be chatting about some of that. Our number one mission of the U.S. Cyber Command is to achieve, maintain cyber safe superiority. What does that really mean? That means a lot of the times the understanding of a free flow of data. Have you guys seen that interruption that could cause, whether it's a brownout, a blackout, some places on electrical grid, that grid reliability going into e-commerce to shut down websites, or even the transmission of actually trade between several companies, whether it's on a boat or even the trade of oil on a pipeline in Southeast the United States. Our goal is to ensure that superiority, to understand that command vision. Within this, to how do we achieve this, we influence the adversary behavior, deliver strategic and operational advantages for the joint force. That's everything combined, the static, the digital, and even the physical worlds that we live in, and defend and advance our national interest. So with that, we kind of dive into the following principles. These are the core of how we can get to those mission and vision statements. We want one cyber enterprise. A lot of this meaning there's no dividing line. When you get attacked, you're getting attacked from anywhere. There's not really a line that says when Washington State gets attacked on, say, for example, an election integrity issue during an election cycle, most other states will come to our rescue, and we'll do the same with Idaho, Oregon, or even up in Canada. We empower our workforce to make those strategic and those life-saving skills and the critical skills that we need to have of understanding what is going on for this threat that we're monitoring. How are we going to go ahead and defend against it? How are we going to mitigate it? And then how are we going to capture some of that data and that forensics analysis to move that back to go after that if we so desire? We want to champion integrated and scalable solutions along with our public-private partnerships so where we can integrate these cities, counties, state agencies, federal, but also businesses that are incorporated within our communities also. We compete by employing a long-term campaign mindset, and that's what we're doing here with CySER and several other grants with the U.S. Air Force and as well as the military across the board. And we are risk aware, not risk averse. We understand the risk that we're going into, and we want to understand that from a critical thinking mindset of how we can mitigate some of that risk. Our mission in the U.S. Army Cyber Command, so now I step down from the overall Cyber Command. And this is, if you could see the chart and kind of visualize, we have one for the Navy, Air Force, Marines, and you're going to get a chance to actually go and talk to and tour several of these locations. What's great about the state of Washington is we have several of these in our state, and we have built with Bernie's help, WSU, as well as state agencies, really good relationships with these commands to allow us to understanding how we can leverage that mentorship for students like you and others who are interested in what does Cyber Command really mean. The bottom line, like anything, we operate, defend, attack, influence, and inform our nation. And we want to integrate these different commonalities into one common mission, and that's what we want to do. We want to also look at what that electromagnetic spectrum is going on there, and even the information operations or even psychological warfare that comes to play when you see the types of understanding of how hackers get into that mindset of stealing information, phishing schemes, spam, all these other things you've heard about. We want to ensure the decision dominance and freedom of action for our friendly forces. That means that cutoff of the network or even the data that we're going to be action to and actually allow us the availability of that data in order to make the best decisions for our key leaders, elected and otherwise, across the board. And that gets us into winning that information dimension. The newer term that comes out here is that with the bad data, and we've seen this, people lose trust in your government. And that part comes back to critical, confidential integrity and the availability of that data into that information dimension and how we can leverage to ensure that trust is still within that mindset. And we do this while denying the same to our adversaries. And that's that defense piece of it, where we're going to defend against all that happening. We want to ensure we have that critical information. We have it where we need it so our decision makers can make the appropriate ones and we can trust them, frankly, out there. One of the cool things we did when I was there, we started this Hack the Army. As you've seen this with whether it's corporate America on these different sites, these hackathons, things that are going on. Red team, blue teaming came out of this. A lot of that red team, blue teaming came in the simulation that you see, the National Cyber League, U.S. Cyber Corps, a lot of this Patriot games, all these other things have come out from these. And this is where it originally started with the 16,000 men and women of the uniformed civilian and other support services of the Army Cyber Team brought together this with the annual budget of $1.5 billion. This number was several years ago, so it's actually increased, which is a good sign. Good sign for you guys, you're in the right area, but a good sign that you understand the importance that we need to have people there. In a day of AI and a day of all these different algorithms, we still need to have smart people to understand what that means, the impacts, how we then can control and we can dominate in these areas. Several civilian careers that are out there. If you haven't already discussed, and I apologize if you've already gone through a USA Jobs kind of background, but I always push this in my slides to my students, understanding this is just like Career Builder, just like LinkedIn, different aspects that are out there. And you can go into these and understand that these are those civilian counterparts working in cyber operations at the different levels. Some of the terminology is being worked with the CySER group here and Griffiths Institute to ensure that when these are actually posted from the Air Force, Army, Navy, and Marines in the military construct, these align a lot with the private sector. So when you see one, you see the other, and the HR departments are linked. So when anyone comes up there, you have a standard level that you can compare apples to apples as you're going through your career search. I tell my students every day, any chance you can, go out and blanket this. Go out and set up a profile, make sure you're there, make sure you sign up for a lot of things, and then lock it down to which areas you want to go to. And if you're the younger ones, before you get married, have partners that are out there and families that are going on, I just say, go out and see the world. There's one good part of the military they will do. They'll help you pay for some of these great locations around the globe and even get you the training if you want to go after a master's or a PhD in some of these other programs. They get that funding there for certifications to enhance your degree programs that you're in right now, and then certifications to advanced certifications into the future to allow you to do that. With that, some of the locations around the globe, and these are expanding. Of course, this is an unclassified briefing, so there's a lot of locations that are classified that help secure the grid, if you will, from any parts that you see connected. And we're growing these as well as understanding how the importance of that interconnectivity, not only in our space, but in the cyberspace, the cyber domain, with our friendly environments in the military, but also with the NATO forces as well. Some of the military careers are out there. The skills and trainings are similar to what you're seeing. And this is why we align a lot of the curriculum at the universities and colleges throughout the state of Washington to meet the skills and training of the future, not just now, but into the future, and anticipate what is that going to mean in cyber? What does an electronic warfare officer mean now and into the future? And how does the cyber operations officer differ from being a network defender and a network operations specialist to a cryptologic intelligence analyst? These go into the best ways, of course, is the pathway to success, as we always call internships. One of the big ones we've worked with in the past is a career exploration, advancement, and development, or SEED program, designed to provide one of those pipelines that we mentioned before that expertly perform and adapt to the ever-changing cyber operation environment. It's where you get 8 to 10 weeks with subject matter experts from across the field, similar to the CySER program. And you get a 2-year fellowship that you can go back to, where they'll pay you for this. They'll move you out there. They'll make sure you work and really shadow the industry members who are in there today. With that, I kind of conclude with one of those fun aircraft that I used to fly, as well as several others. But stand by to ask any questions you guys have of me. Is there any questions?
Yeah,
Just
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
Let's see. So what do you think was the most significant, I don't know, maybe paradigm shift that you went through as you applied cybersecurity in the Army?
The most significant paradigm that I went through as I transitioned was a lot of the terminology in the military was a little different than the civilian world. So when you have a resume that you're in charge of a IT department, ours might have been called a forward operating base cyber operations team, or something similar to that effect. And you can see the two, they basically have the same duties, responsibilities, but you had to translate a lot of what is a forward operating base cyber operations team do as compared to an IT management team or a CIO of an organization. And you try to link that together with some of these human resources. And I think we're getting a lot better at whether it's posting on USA Jobs, and I'll go back to this one, of what that job is, what does it entail, and even the salary that's on there, and try to align with the common standard terminology that not only you as, students coming through the pipeline want to go out and get the jobs, the titles of the jobs, but also the human resources, what it means to have that full-time employee as part of their organization. So that was a great question, Bernie. Thanks for that. That was probably one of the biggest paradigms.
I got a question. It's something similar to this to a few lawyers we've had to talk to recently. But but does US Cyber Command apply machine learning to any of its cyber operations, whether it's something like the intrusion detection system, or whether you're trying to find ways to automate cyber attacks and see how you might be able to counter such a threat or whatnot?
Yeah,
Basically, are
Oh, go ahead.
or, I'll let you hear it.
I kind of got part of this, so correct me if I'm wrong. You're asking the question about what we can do in the different aspects of actually going out with the threat, understanding the threat, and maybe counter threat to that. Is that correct?
Yeah. Specifically to the idea of AI-driven cyber attacks.
Yeah, so this actually developed in the last couple of months with ChatGPT being the forefront. It's on the priority. We were already working on this. So I give you the context. I got out 11 years ago. We were already working a lot of these different contexts with the DARPA projects, which is our future research and development team that you see of advancements of emerging technologies. And in that is that predictive analysis thing I think you're getting at to, is where a computer can see a certain line of code. If it's coming in at a certain amount of time, it builds a caseload of when it comes into this pattern, it then comes up to a rule set. That rule set then becomes executed, or at least gets into the decision-making process to you, the expert, that says, hey, is this an actionable target? Is this an actionable item? Is this just somebody who's, a student that's trying to probe our networks? It's not really hostile intent. How do you determine those things? Should a computer do that? How do you set up those rules? If it's AI or a script or any part of the language, and then you do the rule sets to help defend against that, and how do you want to capture? Yeah, the Cyber Command has done a lot of that in the past. It's gone a lot more into these updated emerging systems that when you're on the network, you're monitoring, whether it's Wireshark, some of these tools that you've seen in the public space. There are classified tools that go a little bit more in depth than those that I can't speak to, but they do a lot of that artificial intelligence that's coming out that you're mentioning. Great question.
Hey Matt, in terms of the USA Jobs website, depending on how familiar you are with all those jobs, are they designed? And I guess I'm specifically asking about like entry level positions. Are they designed to be competitive with civilian jobs in commercial side? Going to work for Microsoft or Amazon, like in terms of the pay and benefits, but also what sort of training or qualifications do they require going in, and what amount of on the job training goes along with some of these?
Great questions. Thanks for the lead in there. Similar to civilian like Microsoft and others, but a lot of those you can't compete. Sometimes Microsoft and them have a lot better pay, for example, but where the military comes in, you have a lot better benefits. And some of that would be the housing, living costs, things that you do to relocate your family and others so I moved 27 times in 22 years, just me as a green suiter. And that was after promotions that you can go after. But in less than 20 years, you can hit retirement piece in the military that you'll never have to work again in your life if you want to. And that was the opportunity that gave me to go ahead and move into another career if I wanted to retire, go into the civilian space, become a teacher, or teach in the cybersecurity effort. Along with that, you said I think I caught the salary, the benefits, the pay, what am I missing? You had 3 or 4 of them in there.
Your prior experience or training required to get into these entry level jobs, and then how much training they actually give you once you start.
Prior experience is about the same. So you're just competing with other people that are at sophomore, sometimes juniors in college, for example. Others may be prior service, so they may have a leg up because they've had military experience in the past. I know we're working with CySER Group and Griffiths Institute. So Department of Defense will change the moniker that you have CySER background knowledge of this, and you go through a program like CySER, that you're going to have a little leg up as well. That gives you an opportunity to kind of, when the pool is getting very competitive, you have that little note, that little feather in your cap on your resume that you're going to be looked a lot better off as helping you get more wins, get the interviews, get the different opportunities you can within this. The training and things certification, wide open. I got most of my certifications from Microsoft Certified Engineer, MCSE, MCSAs, the original DoD 8500 that went ahead and did the framework of what skills you need to have at different IA, which is internet management and internet administrative levels, and the different operator levels that we talked about. Some of the terms are based on best business practices out in the community, which is whether it's the curriculum at WSU or others. That's where we're going after the NSA Center of Excellence. The National Security Agency is kind of working with CySER to ensure that we have the latest training that can go and those skills that you're building with your bachelor's degree to kind of get into this area. So it's kind of a mix. So if you don't have every certification, don't worry about it. But a lot of these give you an opportunity when you get the job. Are you willing to go after your CISSP? Are you going after these other ones that they ask you to do maybe in 6 months, maybe in less than a year? They'll give you that opportunity to do that and pay for it. And a lot of times, like this one, Fort Gordon, and even these are kind of the bigger sites. They'll have a network training team there that they'll bring in the Microsoft expert trainers to get everybody certified on them. Did I answer all your questions?
Yeah, that was perfect. Thanks.
Okay, appreciate it. I knew you came at me with a shotgun blast with a lot of them there, so I want to cover all of them.
Other questions?
Try to write them down.
ROTC students here, 5 of them in fact. You guys have any questions? Going to the military
Yeah.
career?
I was a ROTC from Eastern Washington, so I went through that background. So any questions on going through that experience?
Yes, sir. I have a question. So I just commissioned into the Army and am going aviation and about to head to flight school here in December. Do you have any kind of key piece of advice, or just kind of maybe talk a little bit about your experiences as an Army aviator?
Yeah, well, first off, congratulations, because it's one of the toughest places I ever went and a study environment that I ever went through. They said it's harder than law school and a lot of medical schools comparatively because you're doing hands-on every day. I would just say get your mindset as well as your physical attributes, meaning if you're not running, doing sit-ups, push-ups, and ROTC now, you do a little bit extra because they try to push you more down there. The heat and things, if you aren't from Southern Alabama, gets a lot of people in the first couple of weeks. So if you get a chance to kind of go down there and acclimate, and this to anybody in ROTC, when you go to your basic branch courses, try to go early. Don't wait to the last minute. I did that a couple of times and said, no, I could just check in the night before. We did the next morning, like a 0400 run. We did a PT test right then. And then we did a height and weigh-in right off the bat. And then you're just about not having a good day, put it that way. I won't give you the dramatization of what happens to your body when that happens. So fit, mindset is always the key though. Always have a positive mindset in anything you're going to dive into. And this kind of goes for everybody, ROTC or otherwise. But in the aviation world, you're an officer leading aviation assets. In there, they're going to be more computerized and digitized than when I went through in 1989. Just because of the systems, the things that are going on there, and understanding those systems. Literally, I did a Control-Alt-Delete and had a memory overload on an Apache one time in an operations in northern Iraq, and people were wondering how we fixed it. And it wasn't calling up, the help desk at Best Buy or, one of these other name things. And you can't get a normal IT department to come out and do a reinstall of an operating system on a hard drive in an Apache helicopter. But some of us knew a little bit about both. You learn what Control-Alt-Delete means when you're sitting in a cockpit and you got to restart the thing when you're at 5,000 feet or 2,000 feet flying, with a pack of 4 and a Huey, Chinook, or a Blackhawk. Those kind of different areas of life are getting thrown at you. You still got to have a positive mindset. That's a peace of mind. You have the skills to do that. Be confident in yourself, what you're learning in these ROTC programs that you're a part of right now, that it's going to get you to be successful when you get down there to Fort Rucker. So congratulations on that. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And don't worry, that automatically doesn't mean you need to go into politics. Okay, just saying.
Very good. You have the video of the helicopter doing a loop for loop.
I do not actually.
That impressed me last year.
Yeah, I had it. I don't have it with me. I'm on a different set because of all the crazy stuff that happened in the last 5 days. I blame the Canadians because that's I was in Canada about 12 hours ago, 6 hours.
That's fine.
Yeah, I blame Canadians.
Well, we appreciate the time, Matt, and unless you have anything else for us, we could give you a hand, and thank you so much for your involvement in the CySER program. That's been a key player, so.
Thanks,
really
buddy.
enjoyed it.
I just leave everybody with the great opportunity that you had today. Meet as many of your peers that while you're here in CySER. It's kind of like summer camp for adults. It's a great opportunity, understanding networking, sharing the information, and I do the same. Feel free to reach out at my email. Contact me if you have any questions of those, but build on these strengths that you'll probably end up running into. Life is really short. You'll probably end up running into one of the peers that are in these seats right next to you 10, 20, 30 years from now. So be open to that. Be willing to do that. It's a big family. It's a small family in the cyber community, and looking forward to working with you guys in the future. But thank you very much, Bernie. Appreciate it.